Like most people these days, you're probably super frustrated when you go to the supermarket and leave with half the bags you used to and double the bill. As a new father of a rapidly growing baby boy, I find going to the grocery store mildly stressful these days. This is often until I remember that you really can't eat the money, and sometimes you got to get creative to stretch your dollars, make them go a little bit further than they used to. So, I'm Dr. Nelson, licensed practicing naturopathic physician, clinical nutrition professor. Today, I wanted to share with you 6 practices that I use to keep my family healthy during an economic downturn. An important disclaimer here, while I am a practicing doctor, I'm not necessarily your doctor. These videos are for educational purposes only. So for the first tip, we're gonna just jump right in. My recommendation is buy frozen. Once upon a time, frozen fruits and vegetables were frowned upon. You didn't really like to eat them. Nobody really wanted to recommend them. And the idea here was that these foods pretty much had no nutritional value whatsoever, and they were best to be avoided. The truth is that frozen fruits and vegetables, they're often picked at their peak of ripeness. They're loaded with tons of nutrients that sometimes can be missing from the fresh selection of fruits. So there are some obvious instances where this isn't the case. If you have your own garden, you're lucky enough to be living in the areas that's warm, tropical climates, and you can grow your own food. Fresh picked fruits and vegetables from your garden are going to be like your number one best pick. Also, if you happen to live close enough to a local farm and you're able to go and get some of those items from there, that's going to do really well for you. And farmers markets tend to have really good quality fruits and vegetables. These choices do tend to be freshly picked. Sometimes you can still see the dirt on the bottom of them or some bugs crawling on them when you take them home. And oftentimes you'll even get lucky with those foods being actually organic, even though they may not be labeled as organic. So it's often best to just ask those farmers what that food looks like and what they're growing it with, to get a better idea of what you're actually taking. But the supermarket foods, typically those aren't going to be the best. The major issue with a lot of the large supermarket fresh selections of fruit and vegetables is that for shelf life purposes, the produce is often ripened off of the vine. This creates a complicated situation where you tend to improve the flavor by tons, but it doesn't necessarily do a lot for your nutritional value. You know, those foods tend to be a little bit more nutritionally empty than they used to be, and so that's the downside of using those for your eating. The most important thing that you want to look for when you're evaluating the frozen food is to look for freezer burn. Freezer burn is pretty much, it looks like little ice crystals, or sometimes water that condensed into ice crystals. If you see those forming on any of your frozen products, that's usually a good indicator that the food has lost most of its nutritional value and it's damaged now. For a bonus tip, this is going to help you save some money on supplements. There are some instances and medical conditions that do require a really high volume of doses of some vitamins and minerals that you would normally find in your food. If you have one of those conditions, you want to make sure that you're working with a licensed healthcare provider to get those proper dosages down. However, if you're just self-prescribing supplements, you're going to the store and you're pulling supplements off the shelf, you may be able to save some money on those unnecessary supplements by getting your nutrients from high-quality food sources. There'll be a link in the description down below if you want to see a list of those foods and their associated nutritional vitamin and mineral content. So go ahead and take a look at that because that's going to be really, really important for those of you who want to get your nutrients from food. Second tip, cook and eat your food at home. So pretty much now that we got the buying of fruits and vegetables down and maybe we're going to the store and we're getting better quality foods that are going to be packed with nutrients from that guide that I just mentioned, you have some food at home and I strongly recommend that you use it. No, really, the amount of money that you're going to save per year just by cooking those foods at home is going to be tremendous. There are tons of health benefits from eating fresh food, fresh home cooked meals, and I really, really strongly suggest that you do that. Because not only are you going to save money, you're going to do tons for the health of you and your family. There are many of my patients that I see, they often are suffering from chronic abdominal discomfort. Often when they make that switch to eating foods that they make at home and they're avoiding fast food and restaurant foods all the time, they're able to see a dramatic improvement in their abdominal discomfort. So once you start making that conscious effort to decrease the number of meals that you eat out per week, you know, you're going to see a lot of changes. And I would really challenge everyone to start making those changes. Make small ones, make small, meaningful changes. You know, if you're eating out 3 times a week, maybe cut it back to one, maybe cut it back to two. Just subtract as much as you can to get to a point where you're eating most of your meals at home. So that goes for even if you're eating all of your meals out away from the home. Take a couple of them back, stay home and make some of those meals from home, make them fresh cooked, and you're going to see some improvements in your health. If you're enjoying my content so far, my prescription for you is to press that like button. Don't forget to pop that subscribe and bell icon so that you can keep getting your weekly dose of natural health advice. Tip number 3, menu and meal plan. To help you save some time and money, menu and meal planning will really help to eliminate those "what are we going to eat today" questions. The dreaded "what are we going to eat." Some people find that taking one day during the week to cook all of the foods that they plan to eat during that week, and either freezing or refrigerating those meals until they're ready to be very, very helpful. Oftentimes, if you have the means and you're able to purchase bulk from warehouse type stores, meal planning will be a lot easier and you can increase your monthly savings by quite a bit. An alternative to meal planning is menu planning. Knowing in advance what you're going to eat for breakfast, lunch, and dinner for that week can kind of make the trips to the supermarket a lot easier and a lot less frequent. You can plan one trip a week to the supermarket, purchase what you need for that week. And if you can't purchase everything that you need for that week, then you can rely on daily trips to the supermarket. And that way you'll be able to at least know in advance what you're planning to eat for those days. And it'll make it a lot more targeted, convenient trips so that you know what you're going to be having for that day. Menu planning also for the week can reduce a lot of stress that's surrounding food choices. For us, me and my family, it is a lot less stress whenever we are able to actually document, write everything down for that week, and we know exactly what we're going to eat. It takes the load off of, again, those "what are we going to eat today" questions. And I find that most of the patients that I work with that follow along with this, they do end up, again, eating more meals at home, eating healthier meals, and feeling a lot better for it in the long run. Your 4th tip, you want to use free exercise. This isn't necessarily related or directly related to food, but exercise is vital to optimal health. Exercise doesn't necessarily mean that you have to go and purchase a gym membership. There are many exercises that you can do in your living room, even while you're watching TV. One of my favorite form of exercises is going for walks with the family. I find that it's one of the most effective forms of physical activity is just getting out there and walking. This is going to improve your cardiovascular activity, and you're going to be able to help to improve muscle building as well as improve balance. I find walking in nature is an excellent stress release, especially when you're going to increase those added feel-good hormones as well as some neurotransmitters from the brain. So even when it's a little cold out there, a lot of people during that cold season, the temperatures begin to drop. They get a little bit afraid of going outside and getting exposed to that cold weather. Cold is actually really good for you as well. Cold exposure will improve a lot of those feel-good hormones as well. So when you couple that with walking, you're going to get an even bigger dose of those feel-good hormones. It's going to improve your cardiovascular activity. It's going to improve your muscle strength. It's going to improve the tone, and you're going to really feel better in the long run. So don't be afraid of the little cold. You can dress warm, dress appropriate, but get out there. Don't let it stop you. My 5th tip is practicing mindfulness. Mindfulness is another one of my favorite recommendations that I often recommend to my patients. This pretty much comprises practicing gratitude, focusing on breathing, and meditation as well. These are some of my favorite practices that I use often and that I recommend. Deep breaths through the nostrils often activate the parasympathetic nervous system. This part of the nervous system is actually responsible for rest and digestion. So taking a small amount of time during the day just to consciously inhale and exhale, so in through the nose and out through the mouth, just taking that small moment, just even a minute, and really improve your mental health and wellness, can really help decrease some of those stress responses that are going to be happening, and even help to bring balance to some of your gut response as well. Regarding gratitude, making the time to be purposefully grateful can and will modify brain activity. This alteration can help to really change your perception of reality. I find that the human brain it's very easy to dwell on the negatives that occur in life. A lot of studies have shown that individuals that only focus on the negatives and really tend to dwell on those negatives have a difficult time enjoying positive things when they happen in their lives. And the reason for that is because of the pattern of thought that you do when you continually only dwell on negative things, wires your brain in a way to only see things as negative. And you can even see the positive things as negative. So really take that time to really sit and be mindful about changing the way that you think, and really being mindful and being grateful and experiencing gratitude. Some people recommend doing a gratitude journal. I often tell people to do that. It might sound a little cheesy, it might sound a little corny, but I recommend it. It can change the way that you view the world, and it can really, really make dramatic improvements in your life. With all of that said, I am not going to tell you to ignore your feelings and ignore your frustration. It is very important to discover healthy outlets to process your emotions. The most important thing, though, is that these outlets really shouldn't take away from the practice of gratitude. So really practice gratitude, find a way to fold that into your daily life, find a way to have healthy outlets for different emotions, whether they be anger or rage or happy or sadness. Human beings are not static. We're not meant to stay flat. We're not meant to just be only one thing, only happy or only sad. We're meant to experience all of the different variations of emotions. And so it's important to acknowledge each of those emotions when they come, and still be able to experience gratitude for all of the things that happen in this life, whether they be good or, the way that our society might see it as bad. So this is the last tip, sleep. This is the last, but it is most certainly not the least most important tip. Sleep is essential for overall health. While we're sleeping, our bodies release certain chemical messengers that allow for an increase or an elevation in those building blocks that are required for our tissues to function, to repair in our blood. So muscles, bone, nervous tissue, even fats, they all undergo remodeling during the sleep cycle. So it's really important to note that sleep is really essential for tissue repair to occur. And that will occur during a restful night's sleep. There are some nuances here that I wanted to spend some time discussing, because I do have to discuss this with some of my patients that I see who work the night shift. So there is a difference between night sleep and day sleep. When you sleep at night, your body recovers better than when you sleep during the day. I know some of us have no choice but to work the nights, and we have to do it to take care of our families, but it isn't doing you any favors. You do want to try and get some night sleep in as much as you can. You want to be entering that REM cycle, because that's when all that repairing is going to occur. That's when you're going to see an elevation in those hormones. That's going to allow those building blocks to release. And that's when you're going to see kind of the magic happening with regards to your health. Ongoing sleep deficiency will raise your risk for many, many, many chronic health problems. We're talking about heart disease, kidney disease, high blood pressure, gastrointestinal diseases, diabetes, and stroke, just to name a few of the different problems that you could run into. Sleep deprivation is also linked to some emotional disturbances, including but not limited to mood swings, impulsive behaviors, depression, increased stress, as well as a lack of motivation. So if that doesn't motivate you to get some more sleep in at night, I'm going to definitely do another segment on this in a future video to dive into the details and really see if we can kind of help to encourage you to really improve your sleep quality at night. So thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. I really hope you were able to learn something new, and I really look forward to seeing you at the next video. On the next card, I'm going to leave some information behind on which one you should watch next if you'd like to continue learning. See you at the next one.